Hello and welcome to All Indians Matter. I am Ashraf Engineer. In May 2024, the Indian Council of Medical Research or ICMR warned that information on packaged food labels can be misleading. ICMR guidelines drafted with the help of the National Institute of Nutrition said, and I quote, health claims on packaged food are designed to catch the consumer's attention and convince them that the product is healthy. Stop quote. One example was sugar-free foods associated with low calories preferred by diabetics or people watching their weight. ICMR's Dietary Guidelines for India 2024 warned, and I quote, sugar-free foods may be loaded with fats, refined cereals, white flour, starch, and even hidden sugars, maltitol, fructose, corn syrup, molasses. These would imply high glycemic index and high calories in the food item. Stop quote. In July, the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, or FSSAI, approved a proposal to display nutritional information such as total sugar, salt, and saturated fat content in bold letters on packaged food labels. However, experts said this may not be enough to make consumers aware of the contents, and they demanded even more definitive warning systems.
All Indians matter.
We have on the show Shashi Kumar, co-founder and CEO of Akshayakalpa Organic. After 17 years in the technology industry, Shashi turned his mind to rethinking and recreating India's farm sector. 6 generations of his family were involved in agriculture, so this was a subject close to his heart. In 2010, he, along with noted veterinarian and social entrepreneur Dr. G.N.S. Reddy, started Akshayakalpa Organic. Today, it is one of India's largest certified organic milk companies, serving customers across Karnataka, Telangana, and Tamil Nadu. Shashi, welcome.
Thank you, Ashraf, for hosting me. Thank you.
Shashi, on the face of it, food labeling requirements seem to be well formed. However, they don't actually perform the tasks they're supposed to. Where do they fall short?
I think there's a huge gap between what label says, and what consumer understands. So that is where the problem is. There's a big gap. There's a labeling law which says you need to display certain information in certain way, and we need to really why that display the law is saying is consumer need to understand, but consumer understanding of that information is extremely low. For example, when you say there's no added sugar, doesn't mean there is no sugar, in the product. There's a very mislabeling. But you can still say there's no added sugar. But sugar can come from a lot more, sources. For example, sugar can come from fruits, sugar can come from, dates, sugar can come from a lot of things as an ingredients, in the overall product. So therefore, sugar is an example. For example, how many of us understand those INS numbers? I as a consumer, I don't understand. There is a lot of INS numbers, E numbers associated with every ingredient, which is going into the food. Be it a preservative, be it a emulsifier, be it a acidity regulator, be it you call whatever you want to call. Understanding at a consumer level is extremely poor. So that is the gap. So what regulators are trying to do is, can we put it in bold? It will catch people attention. Or regulators are trying to say, can we change the nomenclature of how it is written? And also they are trying to regulate. When you say sugar-free, what do you mean by sugar-free? So they are trying to give that kind of interpretation. I think it's an ongoing exercise of a discussion between food industry and regulators. It will be ongoing and it will continue to evolve. But the gap is that what is said and what is understood is miles apart.
Yeah, true. And according to you, what should be the key elements of any warning system?
So the fundamental of any food, in my opinion, should really come out. You're being in this product, as something which is not natural. For example, you have got it added a flavor, which is not natural. I've added an acidity regulator, it is not natural. So you have added an emulsifier, which is not natural. So you have got a lot of preservatives which are not natural. They need to really pop out. But generally that doesn't happen. If you really take any label, if you go and see what has been added, those are written in a very smallest possible font on a label. So can that be changed? That is one aspect. Of course, nutrition label is coming out quite well. Now what is the fat content, what is the saturated fats, what are the sugar content, how much calories out there, all these things are fine. Even that understanding itself is lacking, how to read a nutrition label. But ingredient reading is the most critical aspect. So ingredient reading and the nutrition reading actually gets muddled up more often than not. Ingredients are separate, the nutrition is separate. They get mixed up. So in my opinion, there needs to be a clear distinction on ingredients, what's happening. And for example, you can call it as a kaju barfi if a kaju is 2%. There are a lot of things which are happening. So these kind of things in a label no makes consumer getting confused, nutrition part and ingredient part getting mixed up. For example, I'll give one more example. You got a preservative, added into your food. What part of the nutrition it is contributing? Nobody knows. It's a preservative, to give a shelf life to the product. It is not contributing to any part of the nutrition. In fact, it is contributing to side effects if it is consumed disproportionately. That is never discussed. So this is where our food systems in India right now, in a, I should say, very transitionary phase. From what it was hidden facts to open facts to facts which consumers can understand. So in my opinion, these two parts, one is the ingredient part and the nutrition part, really need to be made an attempt by regulators and brands to call them out and call them out and explain to consumers properly.
Absolutely. And Shashi, I know you've touched upon this next issue a bit, but I want to talk a little bit about it in detail because there seems to be a lot of concern over products that claim to be sugar free or low on fat. That's not always the case, as you've explained in some, to some extent. Could you walk us through a little more in detail on that issue?
See, when you say sugar free, now we need to really understand, as I mentioned, no, what is an added sugar? Now, for example, if you take, let me say, sugar broken into fructose, take sugar and fructose. So, fructose has got more sugars than the actual sugar. So, when you say sugar free, what does it mean? It needs to be really defined, and consumers don't understand.
Yeah.
The problem starts there. I'm just giving an example. And let us assume, um, if you take milk as an example, milk has lactose. Lactose gets broken into glucose and galactose if an certain enzyme is present in the gut. Glucose and galactose are much more sugary than actual sugar. So we need to really make consumers understand sugars are required. It's an energy source. It is required, but how sugars are given, it's very, very important. For example, if you're consuming a sugar through a lactose, what happens when you're consuming a sugar through lactose is, in a body, gut already has an enzyme, lactase, acts on lactose and breaks it down to glucose and galactose. Now body can't take lactose, but it can take glucose and galactose. So therefore, it's a slow release system of energy, not a spike. So when it happens, most of the sugary foods, sugar-free is a very nonsensical word in my opinion. And sugars are required, but how the sugars are released into the body is what it is important. Sugar spikes are not good. Sudden spike in sugar is not good. Can you get a slow release of the sugar is what is important. So therefore, most of the natural sugar, for example, when you eat a fruit, not a fruit juice, it's a better sugar release system. More often than not, we don't understand. Rather than eating glucose, can we actually use lactose so that enzyme can act and slowly release it? So these are some of the changes we need to understand. From a sugar is free doesn't mean anything. What is important is how the sugars are released into the body, into the bloodstream.
And Shashi, one of the biggest problems in India is that many labels feature misleading claims, there are inconsistent standards, and sometimes the text is illegible. Now, one consistent complaint is that enforcement of regulations around these things is also weak. What impact can this have on consumer health and safety?
Oh, it's a disaster. Right now, if you really look at the labeling laws, and I told a Kaju example I gave you. It's a Kaju Barfi, and you're calling a Kaju Barfi, only 2% of it is Kaju. Can you call it as a Kaju Barfi? So we can give a lot more examples like this, what's happening. But one is, okay, of course, nutritional aspect of the food, if you can leave that one out. If the label is not properly understood, it has a huge implication on consumer health. If a consumer doesn't understand, okay, that, okay, this kind of product is actually spiking my sugar, one part of it, what is metabolically, what is impacting in his body. So first understanding, the labeling laws are not very clear on this aspect. So label, okay, labeling, they say no added sugar, label allows, okay, but what happens if they don't added sugar and you got a replacement for that sugar? Okay, so there are no questions, okay, given. Let me say if adding a lot of fruit, okay, a lot of fruit pulp, or you're adding this one, okay, there still it is giving sugars. It's no added sugar, but still it is giving sugars. The health implications to your question is most of, for example, if you take milk as an example, okay, milk, nobody says on the label that my milk is aflatoxin free. Okay, aflatoxin is the most carcinogenic known. Okay, if you eat it, for sure your liver damage will happen. Okay, if you, most of the milk in India has aflatoxins today. There's a regulation around amount of aflatoxins in the milk. It is not enforceable. So I'm saying consumers are absolutely blind on their food and implication on health. So therefore, labeling laws and brands actually should make that attempt to educate consumers what is happening. For example, we write boldly saying that, milk is free of antibiotics and aflatoxins. Okay, because a lot of work has happened on that and we can write that. But if consumer, what is his interpretation of aflatoxin? Does he really understand what is aflatoxin means? Brands should make an active effort why they should seek out a food which is free of aflatoxins and, okay, antibiotics. Other aspect in, okay, for example, how many consumers understand implications of antibiotics? Today, World Health Organization says very clearly what is the biggest, okay, hindrance to human health is antibiotic resistance. We are eating antibiotics through food, left and right, through meat, through milk, okay, through a lot of means we are eating it. Okay, the body is developing resistance to, okay, any okay, infection. Later on, when you treat for that infection, the body is not responding because you already loaded with a lot of antibiotics. So consumers are absolutely blind on that. Okay, you heard of a lot of conversations. My dad was perfectly fine. Okay, he was eating perfectly fine food. He got a cancer. So there are anecdotal. Okay, we can always go back and see what is perfect food. Okay, and they never understood. Okay, these implications. Okay, this already is happening. So in my opinion, Ashraf, we have reached a stage in the country where, in my opinion, battle on the food labeling is lost, to be honest. And no consumer understands. A regulator, okay, is trying his best to fix this issue, okay, but it is too big a problem.
And I'm glad you mentioned consumer education because I think successive governments have tried to do something about it. I mean, let's be fair. Say every government has tried to do something about
Yes.
it, but obviously it's not worked well enough. What do you think is needed for a more educated consumer to come about?
See, three fundamental questions we need to ask, Ashraf. Okay, we need to encourage consumers to ask, where did my food came from? So source traceability becomes critical, irrespective if it's organic or otherwise. Okay. And the second thing is who grew it and how it was grown. If three questions are answered, okay, most of the supply chain issues, for example, once a vegetable which is produced, okay, without using any chemicals, okay, with a good, okay, production practices, getting into a supply system, it is perfect food, okay. But we are not answering questions there. Okay. And a recent study in Bangalore, okay, regulators picked up some sample of vegetables throughout the Bangalore from various distribution points. And it's damning. The report is damning amount of lead contamination, amount of heavy metals, amount of pesticides. It's just a damning, okay, in vegetables and greens, okay. the challenge for a regulator, okay, or a challenge for anybody who wants to get into education space is how to put it across to a consumer the way he understands. So encourage him to ask questions, go deeper. Then the brands who are providing these produce to consumers, they will become conscious. It has to be brand-driven approach to solve this problem. While the regulator is supervisor, regulator is telling, hey, do this. But brands really need to go out of way, okay, to take consumers onto their side. It is not happening right now, Ashraf, to be honest.
In fact, that was going to be my next question. How much of the onus is on the food corporations or the brands that are in the market? We've answered that, of course. But,
No.
Shashi,
So to just add on
yeah,
that
sure.
point, all of it, okay, lies on the brands and food companies. It is their responsibility to really educate consumer in terms of what they are feeding them. Okay, so for example, if you take on a juice bottle, which is bottled versus a fruit. Okay, fruit is always 10,000 times better than what is actually bottled. But why are you bottling it? Fine, you bottled it as a business model. Now we explain what are the implications. Is there a regular acidity regulator is there, preservative is there to shelf life. Okay, and you're adding a lot of sugar to make sure, okay, carbs for that one again and again. When it drinks one bottle, again it takes another bottle. So versus a fruit, which is with a lot of pulp, a lot of fiber, you eat. So can brands take this bold approach, saying that, hey, by taking this is the downside. Taking this is the upside. But in my opinion, it's very difficult for brands to make that call.
In fact, Shashi, one of the key worries is the food that our children consume. Now, we live in an era of packaged foods, of course, and even milk has additives, as you've mentioned. Children certainly don't read labels, but even parents often neglect to do so carefully. What would you advise parents to do before giving their children packaged food? I think because what's happened is
See,
today it's become very common to feed children packaged foods because parents are busy. There's a huge amount of pressure on time. So this seems to be the easy way out often.
See, this again boils down to the same question, Ashraf. Can parents read the label, okay, and understand what are the implications? See, I've been a chess player, okay. I've played a lot of chess, lot of tournaments. Every tournament I went, no, when I sit in an opponent player, a lot of them are kids, 6 years, 5 years, 10 years kids, okay, because that's the chess playing kids. Most of them have a sugary drink on the table. Okay. And parents actually walk in and hand over the sugary drink to the kid. Okay. Kid puts on the table and pays 3 hours match. Okay. Keeps drinking that sugary drink. Okay. So that's the level we have gone of ignorance. Okay. In my opinion, we should hold parents accountable for what kids are eating. Okay, parents these days don't cook at home for various reasons. They are busy and packaged food. Okay, food coming from a lot of restaurants which is unauthenticated. We don't know what they are using. It is not under labeling purview. If you say paneer butter masala, okay, what does it mean? It means a lot of things in Pune, a lot of things in Bangalore, a lot of things in a lot of places. Okay, so. Parents needs to really start understanding what kid is eating, start eating him, start cooking at home. So that's a fundamental answer, Ashraf. Okay, beyond that, if parents are conscious about children's health, they need to make an attempt.
Yeah. Actually, I also wanted to talk a little bit about the organic food trend that we are witnessing nowadays. ICMR guidelines said that not all organic food claims should be believed. And they said, and I quote, when a food label states organic, it may simply mean that it is free of all artificial preservatives, flavors, and colors, and that the food ingredients are free from pesticides and chemical fertilizers. If both the above conditions are met, then the label can state 100% organic and have the Jaivik Bharat logo approved by the FSSAI. Stop quote. At the same time, any food item, including fruit juices containing only 10% or less of fruit, is allowed to claim that it is made with real fruit pulp or juice. However, the product may have added sugar and other additives with only 10% of actual fruit
Yes,
pulp. So there is a huge
yes,
contradiction there.
yes. See, the challenge with, for example, the organic process now, one thing is absence of chemicals, absence of pesticides, traces, residues, etc. Another is the production process itself needs to be certified. For example, you can't use a gehu, which is just free of pesticides, free of chemical traces and still claim organic. No, how the gehu itself was produced. The land needs to be certified, crop needs to be certified. Then the gehu coming out of that, getting into any ingredient, actually qualifies to be organic. So that is the organic process. Actually, a lot of people misunderstand this entire thing. So that's the reason the certification systems are very clear. Certify the land first. 2-3 years it will take to organic certification. Then certify the crop. Crop output coming from the crop actually can get into an organic labeling system, organic atta you can call. Once you have that, of course, to make the atta itself, there are a lot of restrictions in terms of way atta making system, how it should be isolated in terms of a traceability point of view, all of it. Yes. So the second point what you raise is in terms of using 10% of pulp, and you can just say it is a orange juice. If you want to claim that, so there are no restrictions on that. I think law itself no needs to be really relooked at it. But I think regulators are making that attempt. Let us see how it progresses, Ashraf.
Takes us back to the 2% kaju and kaju barfi
Yes,
example that
yes,
you gave. It also reminds
yes,
me, given that you're talking about barfi and juice and sugars, etc., India has become the diabetes capital of the world. And
yes.
heart ailments are also so increasingly common. And it just struck me that labeling becomes even more critical in such a situation. It could well reduce the disease burden and the pressure on the national health system.
Yes.
Now, Shashi, India largely has back of pack labeling. But now several food scientists and activist groups around the world have demanded front of pack labeling, and this is happening in India also. And this is a global practice proven to reduce the consumption of unhealthy foods. Are you in support of that? What's your view?
Yes, yes, very much. The front of FOP, is a very critical element to state what is important. That's the reason I'm saying, in the back of pack, what you can write in very, very small, unconspicuous, even not able to read kind of a situation. Can you bring your INS number? Can you daredevil enough to bring your INS number? Say, I'll use the preservative. Be conscious about that. So the front of pack labeling now, it's an extremely important initiative. If we can bring majority aspects into front of pack, that actually solves a lot of problems. It catches the consumer attention first time, and the consumer is able to decide, hey, should I give it or not? See, for example, if you could see in a lot of protein drinks, actually they are able to say this has got 25 gram protein. So you could really see Amul, recently launched, one milkshake, In that one, they have written it has got 25 gram protein. So it's a good front of pack labeling initiative. Just you are trying to declare this is the amount of protein it has. Of course, we need to be able to declare, hey, I have also added, preservative to make sure the milkshake reaches you. So those kind of, initiatives, need to really become mainstream. But
Yeah.
brands are doing on their own, but that needs to become mainstream.
Yeah. And also, I think it's not just about font size, which we have talked about, when it comes to sugar and things like that. And it's not just about front of pack labeling. But, when you say the component of sugar is this much or fats is this much, that's actually normally of the entire pack. And, we also need to say what is it per serving. That is actually more
Yes.
informative and would probably make for a better informed consumer. What's your view?
In fact, the labeling law is very clear. We need to declare per serving how much, it is. For example, if you are buying a 1 liter, let me say milk, per serving, uh, nutrition needs to be declared per serving if it is 200 grams per serving if it is what you're taking. We need to declare for 200 grams what is the calcium, what is the vitamins, what is this one. We need to declare. It is mandated by law. I think that's a very good starting point. But we generally don't understand, between the quantity which is there in that pack versus per serving. That's the problem. More often than not, I've done a lot of tests with consumers. I've shown this pack. I'm saying this nutrition information isn't in the entire pack or per serving. They don't know. Okay, it is clearly written, it is per serving. So once we understand that, probably our consumption pattern now would change. Okay, probably I would avoid, let me say, if I got a 1 liter sugary drink, okay, maybe if you look at a per serving, calorie value per serving is 450 calories. I need to just take 100 ml out of that. Okay, maybe if you just take 1 liter of the, if you consume, then you are into trouble. The entire calorie requirement 2 times over, okay, in that entire day you got it through one bottle of drink. So therefore, per serving, understanding that one is very, very critical.
I think that's a very good example. I mean, somebody who suffered from that himself. I'm talking about myself here. I
Yeah.
used to consume years ago a lot of sugary drinks, sometimes consuming up to 2 liters an evening, and that made me very very sick. And you're absolutely right. I
Mm.
had no idea how much sugar I was taking in and whatever else there is in that drink. But Shashi, thanks for all of this. I also wanted to ask you a little bit about the journey of Akshayakalpa Organic. How did the idea come about? How did you establish it? What is the journey it has undertaken so far?
The Akshayakalpa Organic journey has been a crazy journey. So this is about 27 people from technology industry. Okay, they thought they can leave their job and go and change farming. Okay, nothing like that happened. Only thing which happened is we changed ourselves. So, and in that journey, okay, first, first 9 years, we came 6 times close to bankruptcy. Okay, and we didn't know how to run the business. Okay, and the problems in farming is too overwhelming. Then we decided it is not a one generation solution, okay, exists. So we need to attack the problem one by one. Let's start solving cash flow problem for a farmer. Akshakalpa technically is a farming company. We do a lot of work on soil management. Only work we do is soil management. Manage the soils in the farm and get the crops grown in a way, okay, where consumers can actually take it very confidently. That's what we do. You can call it as Akshakalpa as the biggest soil management and dung making, manure making company in the country. So over a period of time, we also learned how to deal, okay, with these farming challenges. And the products what we, okay, marketing actually is helping to solve cash flow problem for the farmer. So while it's the cash flow problem is solved now, we are able to intervene with a little bit of a beekeeping, okay, a little bit of a backyard poultry, a little bit of vegetables, a little bit of greens, a little bit of a banana. So that entire farm now is becoming a full package. So it's a very comprehensive system we are trying to build. So that's a quick brief on Akshay Kalpa. So it's a crazy attempt.
Yeah.
Okay, hopefully that craziness has some value.
And what lies next for it?
See, the problems in the farming space is too deep, Ashraf. So, what we envision, probably we have solved 1 or 2% of it. So, we need to really go deeper into farming productivity, soil management. If we don't do it, farming is gone in India. Right now, if you understand, okay, average age of a farmer in India is 55 years. All the food what we are eating actually is grown by a person who is aged 55 years. Country is a young country, 30 years of age. No youngster is getting into farming. Forget about everybody. Me only, no. My father, I born in a farming family. My father never wanted me to be a farmer. So to your question, okay, is what next? Next is getting youngsters back to farming. What is needs to be done to get young population into farming? After their graduation, they can become doctors, they can become engineers, they can become whatever they want. They should also have an aspiration to become a farmer. That is not there in the country right now. Okay, so that movement we need to start. We need to get thinking people, youngsters back into farming. Today it is not. If you are not able to do anything in life, you become a farmer. So that's what it is right now. Those are the people who are producing food for us. We should be grateful to them, but this is not going to work for long.
So, Shashi, here's a question I ask all my guests at the end of the show. Why do you do this work?
It's very selfish thought, okay, Ashraf. Okay, to be honest, I'm worried. Okay, to my children, my grandchildren, who will grow the food? So very simple. Okay, question: will there be people growing food for my children and grandchildren? There will not be. we can forget farming. So that's what we are trying to solve. Okay, in Akshayakalpa, I'm trying to solve a problem of growing food for my children, my grandchildren, and generations to come. So therefore, I believe it's a very selfish thought, okay, but it is solving a bigger problem.
Shashi, thanks so much for being on the show.
Hey, thanks, Ashraf, and appreciate this opportunity. Thank you.
All Indians matter.